I will call this meeting of the Sacramento County Regional Sanitation District to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Good morning. Directors Ashby.
Here.
Bruins.
Present.
Frost.
Here.
Guerra. Harris.
Here.
Hume. Kennedy.
Here.
Lee. Morin. Natoli. Orozco.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Cerna.
Here.
McGarvey.
Here.
Villegas.
Here.
Warren. Carr.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Ms. Ashby, would you please lead us in the pledge to the flag?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation and Sacramento Area Sewer Districts is being broadcast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T U-verse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption for our hearing impaired viewers and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, July 30th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for a meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County supervisors and City of Sacramento council members is paid to the county and city respectively to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the back of chambers and hand it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please silence your electronic devices at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a slight adjustment to the agenda. If we hear items 1 through 12, and then convene in closed session and hear the Sacramento Regional Sanitation District matter first, then we can let the other members who are not on the sewer district depart. If there's no objection, we'll proceed that way. Seeing none, please call the first item.
Right. Acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, your item numbers 1 through 6 are your district consent matters.
Second.
We have a motion.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Say again?
What are you sorry about? I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear the motion.
I moved.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry, no problem. Yeah.
No second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions? The item carries unanimously.
Perfect. Item number 7 is comments from the public on issues not on the posted agenda. I have not received any speaker slips
And
regarding
I
that.
have no request to speak. Is there anyone here to speak from the public? Seeing none, please call the next item.
Okay. Item number 8, Advisory Committee Recommendations, Construction Specification Review.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. We're asking today your approval for the changes in the specifications. As you know, that we have assembled a subcommittee to review the construction specifications and make some, suggest some changes. And they were made, and in the last board meeting, your board approved in concept what the changes needed to be made. So you're taking a final action today in terms of formalizing those changes. The one change that I wanted to point to you, one difference from what you'd approved before, is for the timeline when the contractors need to submit their information in writing to us. At the last meeting, your board approved a 3-day advance notice before the board meeting. What we're asking today is allow us for 4 days so that we have a day to essentially respond and give everything back to you before the board meeting. So that's the only change from what you had in concept approved. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or Vic's here to answer the questions.
I'm not seeing any request to speak.
I'll move the item. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, the motion carries unanimously.
Item number 9, Echo Water Project Quarterly Report for April 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2017.
May I have the presentation for item 9, please? Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Vic Giotani. I'm the program manager for the Echo Water Project. I'd like to provide some highlights from the quarterly report for the Echo Water Project. So I'll provide an overview of the schedule and the progress to date, some financial information, and then we'll talk about some of the latest updates, challenges that the program is facing, and some of the upcoming milestones. This is a summary of the program schedule. The bars in green are the planning and design phase. The bars in blue and dark blue or purple are the construction and commissioning phase. So you can see we're actively in construction in 6 projects. We recently initiated a new project, the Heavy Equipment Maintenance Building Relocation Project. And we are also still in planning and design of several other projects that will support the successful completion of the program. The 2 major projects, the biological nutrient removal project, which is required to meet the first compliance milestone of May of 2021, that is heavily under construction and is on schedule to meet the permit requirements. The other major project, the tertiary treatment facilities project, is in design. We're a very aggressive design schedule. We're on track to complete that design and issue bids probably in January or February of 2018. At the last quarterly report, there was a request to provide some additional information about project schedules, individual project schedules. And so I want to probably explain this. I added this graphic, and I'll probably need a little bit of explaining to do to show you how the projects are intertied. Just a little bit of background. When we started this program, we made a conscious decision to break this project up or program up into several distinct projects. So where it made sense, we broke them up into projects that all support the 2 main projects, BNR and TTF. One of the reasons at that time was economic support for the community. There's a lot of design and construction services, and we're pretty successful in doing that. However, it did create a lot of additional management of all those projects. And so if you look at this graph here, these are actually the projects that are in progress now. But you'll see how these projects are all linked up. So the RAS project on top, these projects up here are all needed to support the biological nutrient removal project. And so their end dates are tied to certain activities in the larger project. Similar with the tertiary treatment, you'll see a couple of smaller projects that are tied to the TTF project. So the areas in blue are the planned construction schedules. These are only construction schedules. And you'll see anything beyond those blue bars are either early finish or contract delays, essentially. So you can see for the FEQ project, it's projected to finish later than what was originally planned, and that was due to the wet winter that we just experienced, and so there are a lot of weather delays to that project. But you also see that there are the green bars after these. Those green bars, if I can find this, like this one here, actually show what we would call program float. So that project is really not the late completion date before it would affect BNR is where you see that vertical line tying back into the BNR project. So this project, FEQ, needs to be completed by this date to meet some milestones for commissioning in the biological nutrient removal project. So any questions on how these projects are linked up?
Yes, Mr. Cerny.
Thank you. So let's use the disinfection chemical storage item as an example here. What does it mean then to have that be a forecast late completion and then have such a long float measured in years, not months, until the compliance period?
So for that particular project, we initiated that project so that we could replace the existing gaseous system. And so from a risk safety perspective, we chose to do the disinfection chemical storage conversion to a liquid system. We started that early because we wanted to get off the gas system as soon as we could. So that provides the disinfection, the chlorination and dechlorination for the plant's effluent, but it's really not needed to be completed until we complete the tertiary treatment facilities.
So does that mean the new liquid system is actually put into use beginning in late 2017, or does it sit idle until 2023?
Part of that system is already in place. So the dechlorination system, which includes the area out by the Sacramento River, our outfalls, that system is commissioned and is functioning. So it is in place. And we intend to finish that project probably within the next 2 to 3 months, and we'll put that in service.
Thanks.
Any other questions? No? Continue.
So this is our program cash flow. The colors in dark are actual expenditures. Each bar is a monthly expenditure, and the lighter colors are projected expenditures based on contractors' schedules and updated schedules as we receive them. So you can see we are definitely ramping up the expenditures, and that's due to all the construction activities. I mentioned tertiary treatment will be starting in spring of 2018. BNR will still be in full swing, and so we'll see that big spike of expenditures and construction activities. This is just a graph showing that the orange bars are our projected cost, the green bars are actual expenditures, so we are still tracking below our budgeted numbers. One thing to note that is to be careful when you look at this, that if you start falling much below actual expenditures, it could mean that there's not enough construction taking place. So that's something that we're closely watching, working with the contractors for the couple of projects that we have some schedule slippages through the winter. So we're definitely working with them to develop recovery schedules to get them back on track.
Vic,
I have another question.
Yes.
before you leave that slide, is it possible that the next time we get a report back on this and you show this, which is great news, that like the previous slide, you have a cumulative bar in terms of the cumulative delta between projected and actual?
For each project?
No, as you
Or just-
progress, just total project cost.
Okay, we could do that in numbers, sure.
Great.
Yep,
Thank
can
you.
do that. So just a few program updates. This summer, our contractors have definitely ramped up getting out of the wet weather. There is a lot of major construction activity out on the site. I mentioned we initiated a new construction contract, and that is taking off very rapidly. And that one is tied to the tertiary treatment facility so that we can clear that area out for a quick start on that contract. We've logged over 610,000 work hours to date. We've suffered 6 lost time injuries, relatively minor in nature. No deaths, dismemberments, or anything like that. Excuse me. SRF reimbursements are flowing in. We've currently received over $250 million in SRF reimbursements. We get quarterly inspections from the state board, and those have all gone very well. So they have no questions. Their comments are, we probably provide the most complete information from any project they've dealt with. And finally, even though we're in heavy construction, we are looking at planning the commissioning phases of the projects. And there's a lot of interties with these projects during commissioning, integrating with plant operations. And so we're working very hard with the contractors to develop really good commissioning plans. To get into some photos from the projects, this is an aerial of March 30th. You can see this is the flow equalization project in the basins down here. This is the biological nutrient removal project construction area here. Nitrifying side stream treatment is tucked in here. Those are kind of our major projects. And then the secondary sedimentation, the RAS project, is located in our existing facilities there. So you can see this is current as of June 30th. You can see for the FEQ, the additional concrete that's been placed in the basins. These basins were not we weren't able to work in those basins during the wet weather, and there was a substantial dry out period. So there was, this is an area where the contractor is a bit behind because of the weather. You can also see in the biological nutrient removal area the concrete being poured, and I've got some close-up photos of those in the next few slides. This is flow equalization, showing the concrete liner that's being put down on the bottom and the sides. This is what we call basin C1, and you can see the strips of concrete. They're actually using a paving machine. So the paving machine pours strips like they would a freeway, and then they come in and hand place in between the strips. This is the flow equalization. These are basins A and B that we use during the winter to divert peak flows from all the storms. They've dried out enough to start working in those basins with underdrain and lining systems.
Excuse me, Vic, what's the thickness of the concrete in those basins?
In those basins, it's probably about, I think it's like about 12 to 14 inches. I think one of the previous, let me go back. So you could see how thick it is right there.
Gauge that. That's why I was asking. I was looking at the same photo, just getting a sense of what that is. So, okay.
Yep. There's a spillway between the basins. You can see the size of that spillway in between A and B. That it's a concrete pumper truck. It's got about 100-foot reach, so they're pretty far out there. This is the nitrifying side stream treatment project. This project actually did very well through the winter. They did a lot of the slab work, which allowed them to pour walls during the winter. They've completed the basins. They're hydrostatically testing those and repairing any leaks. This is the biological nutrient removal project. You can see the concrete being poured kind of in the L shape across that picture. A little bit close-up of some of the construction of the floors and the walls. Again, a little bit more close-up. Those walls are about 30 feet tall. This is a picture of the primary effluent pump station. It's a 330 million gallon per day pump station. You can see the 6 bays that are being formed, and each one of those bays will have a very large pump installed. This is a disinfection chemical storage project. The construction is essentially complete. We're just, again, working out some bugs during commissioning. The return activated sludge project. This project is one of the only projects that's right in the heart of one of our process areas. This is an active process area. The complexity with this project is that we need to have the majority of those tanks in service during wet weather. So the contractor is only able to work inside those tanks and do the modifications during the winter. Then he has to demobilize. We put them all back in service so that we can handle wet weather flows, and then he can come back in the summer and complete work there and in the channels. So it's a very difficult project in coordinating with our plant operations. It's a little bit close-up of the work. They're replacing the 48 pumps that are around the tanks, so you can see very constrained working areas as well. So again, some of the challenges that we're facing, I mentioned commissioning. We are rapidly getting close to commissioning these facilities, and the commissioning plans are pretty complicated for some of the projects. So we're actively working with contractors early. This is an area where they typically don't put a lot of effort into, so we're picking that up and putting that effort, because there's a lot of interaction not only with existing operations but with other project constructions and tie-ins. Also, we are working hard with the contractors, as I mentioned, about some project slippages due to weather and other circumstances. And so we're actively working with them to either resequence or accelerate their work so that we can maintain the schedules and they don't affect the B&R project. Some of the upcoming milestones for this fall, we expect to complete commissioning of the disinfection chemical storage project. We'll start commissioning of the first phase of the return activated sludge project. And then we'll be coming back to this board for amendment for the program management services. That's a contract that we've let out in like about 2-year increments. And so we're about running up to that time where we need to come back to the board to request additional funds for the services to complete. And this is the program management consultants that we've hired. In the winter of 2017, we expect to complete the design for the tertiary treatment facilities project. That's the last major project that allow us to meet the second milestone of May of 2023. We'll be back to the board, final accepting the disinfection chemical storage project. And then we'll be bringing an amendment to one of our construction management contracts for the TTF project. So we had contracted with Jacobs Construction Management to provide services for the biological nutrient removal CM services and the tertiary treatment facilities services. However, we only funded for the BNR project. So we're developing scope of services, level of effort, and we're coming back to your board to amend that contract as well so that we're set up for the TTF construction work. So in summary, safety continues to be our main focus. We actively are out in the field, 2 full-time safety officers working with the contractor safety personnel, and they are doing a very good job. Work has been extended into night shifts for several of the contractors, so we're actually extending our services into the evening, early morning hours as well. Inter-project coordination is in shutdowns with the main plant are going to be pretty challenging, and so we're really coordinating those between the different projects. There are definite limits to how long we can have our existing operations out of service, and so there are very short windows to make tie-ins and those kind of activities. And overall, even though we have some individual project slips, our program is still on schedule to meet our compliance date and still remains on budget. That, I have any questions?
Do you have a question, Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, Vic. So when do you expect roughly that construction bidding will go out for TTF?
See, we expect, right now it's targeted for, the date is June 10th. But we're really
specific,
looking,
yeah.
January 10th, excuse me, January 10th, 2018. But we're really looking at the bidding, the amount of time we've allowed for bidding. Right now it's a little bit short, so we're going to probably add more time onto that. So I kind of expect it's going to be somewhere around, end of January is kind of my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions?
Let me add a quick comment. These pictures do a good job of showing you the level of construction, but it's hard to gauge how big the project is. For example, we've said before that the BNR project is roughly 17 or 18 football fields in size. So for anyone that hasn't been out there, or even if you have, I offer to give you a tour. This is a great time to go out there. There's a tremendous amount of construction going on, so I welcome anybody that wants to join me on a tour.
Thank you, Ruben. The scale is awesome. You can tell from the pictures that This is a huge project. In terms of security, both in the construction phase and operational phase, with such a significant investment, what have we done?
For security?
But securing the site, both in the construction phase as well as the operational phase.
So plant security, we have guard stations at 2 locations, 2 entrances to the plant. Those are manned. One of them is manned 24 hours a day. We constructed the new Dwight Road that comes off Laguna into that. We've designated that as our construction access for all construction activities. So all the personnel, any of the deliveries, equipment, materials, all should be coming in that gate. So they are, we actually issue electronic badges to every individual employee contractor that comes on site. So we're actively managing the changing workforce. So as they come on site per project, when they're done, we query back to the general who's on your payroll, and we deactivate badges so they don't have access. So it's it's a lot of work to do, but it's something for our site security that we're trying to maintain. Internally to the plant, into the main process area of the plant, we do have a secondary security fence that the contractors do not have access for, the ones that don't need it. For example, the RAS project is right in the middle of our process, so they have access to get into that area. But we put a lot of effort into controlling access onto the site.
And building on that, during working hours, we have at least 4 security guards on site, some at the gates, some roaming around. Even in the middle of the night, we have a minimum of 2 guards, and there's always one in a truck driving around the site, making sure it's secure and safe. So there's always good security.
So To issue these contractor badges, they are required to go through orientation for safety and environmental, and they also get drug tested. So every contractor that comes onto our site has to go through this orientation process before they'll receive a badge to enter the site.
And on the south end, I assume it's the south end because it's at the bottom. Is that a wall or a berm or a levee? What is that?
The south end of the site, let's see.
As well.
Back to an aerial. Were you looking at one of the aerials?
Yes. That.
Down this side? This is the north end of the plant. And we have a flood levee that rings around the whole plant site.
Flood levee, okay.
Yeah, it's rated at about a 400-year storm, which in a previous picture I show you how far that water came up on the outside. And so there's a creek that runs around the north side and then around the west side of the plant.
Okay, that's actually the north end.
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Vic, did you say you've already transferred over to liquid chlorine for disinfection on the DCS?
Well, yeah, sodium bisulfite for dechlorination.
Okay.
That's what we've converted to. We're working on the hypochlorite, the liquid chlorine side.
So do you still have some gaseous material on site?
Yes, we do until we can completely convert over.
And when would that be?
My best guess at this point would be in about September of this year.
And the security around the rail cars with chlorine gas is what?
There is an additional security beyond the one around the process area. We have additional security just around the chemical area. And as Ruben mentioned, we have guards that are stationed out in that area.
All right, thanks.
Yes.
And we have armed guards for that area.
Yes.
That would make sense.
Mr. McGarvey?
Yes, earlier you said that there's a set timeline on how much time you have to shut it down. How much time do you have to shut down the plant? I'm thinking of all the business you do on a daily basis, and to shut that down, it just boggles the mind. So how much time would you have on that?
So we have, if we have all of those basins, so these are all the storage basins that we have to store either primary influent, effluent, or secondary effluent in this basin. We think we have enough storage if they were empty for about 2 days maximum, and then we have to bring all that back into the plant to retreat if it's in those basins. So it's a juggling effort with amount of storage, how long of shutdowns. So we put constraints in our projects where those large shutdowns can only be done in the summer. So when we have lower flows, more storage, those kind of activities.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking if we had another winter like we just had, that would make things rather awkward for you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. This is an awesome project. The scale is stunning. Good job.
All right, thank you.
Next item.
Okay, item number 10, non-rate and non-fee revenue use policy advisory committee meeting and report and policy update.
Today we're looking for a feedback from the full board. As you remember that a subcommittee helped us to change the current policy, so what you have today is a draft version of it, and with also some additional comments that Christophe will go over. Actually, Christophe will start explaining what's in the current policy and what the additional comments that came, and then essentially open for the board to ask questions. Before he did that, at the last board meeting, Director Peters asked in terms of what happens if we didn't fund this, in terms of what would be the impact on the rates. So I wanted to answer that and kind of hand it over. So the policy contemplates spending up to $6 million a year. That's the cap that it is written today. If we spent all of the $6 million that was there, which is equal to 80 cents per month per equivalent single-family unit. That's what it reflects to, which is roughly 2.2% of the rate that they pay today. So theoretically, if we don't do any of these non-rate, non-fee projects, we can reduce the ratepayer rates by 80 cents a month in the future. So that can happen. So for example, if you continue to want to do the Lifeline, which is roughly $2 million, and didn't do anything else that we're contemplating today, you can reduce the rates by 50 cents a month for each of the single-family homes, a little less for the multifamily homes and the apartments because they only pay 75%, which means 1.5% reduction. So you're looking at a reduction of up to 2.2% and to 1.5% reduction if you decide to not do these. So with that, I wanted to give it over to Christoph. He'll explain what's in the policy and then also open up for discussion.
Well, good morning. So I'm going to go over the draft policy, but first of all, I just want to give you a little bit of background and also introduce you to the documents that you have in front of you. So the last committee meeting that we had, we collected feedback on the draft policy we had at the time, and then the idea was that we would take those comments back. Staff would work up a revised draft, put that out for comments to the group through email, and then we would incorporate those into a final draft, and that would be the packet that you have in front of you today. What happened, though, there's one area where there is not consensus, and so we received conflicting and different comments on the document. So the draft policy that you have attached to your packet is as it was before we received the comments, so we didn't change that. And then on top of that, there's an additional document which you should have. It's just labeled item number 10, and it has 3 comments, and those were the 3 comments that we received, and I'll talk about how those fit into this in a moment, but that's kind of what the documents that you have in front of you. So if you want to turn to the policy itself, the first page is just background. I won't go through that, but starting on the second page and running actually onto the top of the third page, there are 5 main bullets, and those are essentially major categories of the types of projects that we could fund through the non-rate, non-fee revenue. The first one is the SOLRAP, we call it SOLRAP program, which is the Sewer Lifeline Rate Assistance Program. As Prabhakar mentioned, that costs about in the range of $2 million a year. We've put a cap at $3 million, so the idea is that this would be fully funded each year. If we were to make changes to the SOLRAP program in the future, if your board decided to change that, then we could also update this cap to reflect it, but you basically have a cushion there so that it's always going to be fully funded. The second program or category of programs is environmental stewardship programs and projects, and I'll dig into that a little bit further in a moment as we get into the comments, but that's kind of the area where there's some different comments. So, and just take a little step back, right now we're looking at about $6 million a year in non-rate, non-fee revenue coming in. So if you take 3 off the top for the SOLRAP program, it leaves about a $3 million total. So these last 4 bullets are essentially the extra that's not used by the SOLRAP program. And so the way we've approached it is to take a percentage and then a dollar cap for each of those. So that approach, what it does is it kind of carves out areas that allows you to maybe have a balanced approach to use funding in different areas as opposed to having maybe a single area that you focus on. So the environmental stewardship programs and projects, that would include waterway cleanup type stuff as well as septic tank conversions. That is 40% of the remaining funding and then a cap of $1.25 million. The next one is economic development type program, 30% of the total remaining and not to exceed $1 million. And then we have public education programs, which is 20% of the funding, not to exceed $500,000. And then the last bullet is essentially the catch-all. There's other items that come up that are related to our mission and vision, and that's 10% with a cap of $250,000. The next area, going to the middle of page 3, is basically 4 criteria for prioritizing projects. So not only is it a way to take a look at a project that comes in and decide whether it's worthy of pursuing, but also if we were to get a significant number of projects or maybe a very large project where we needed to actually prioritize them, we would use these criteria to prioritize them, starting with relevance to mission, vision, and values. We have one if it's supporting our strategic plan efforts. And then the third is provision of regional benefits, and finally the ability to leverage other funding. So if we could get some grant money somewhere, that would also be a criteria. Just touch on reserve management a little bit. Right now there are 2 reserves, one for the SOLRAP program, about $6.5 million, and then one for our industrial incentive program, which is being phased out, but at the time there's about $3.5 million in there. So what we're recommending is that we collapse those, put them together into one reserve that would be $10 million. And that allows us, I mentioned the $6 million a year in funding and revenue. That doesn't always happen. So that if we have a shortfall there, if we're really lean in that revenue, for example, and there wasn't enough to fund the SOLRAP program, we could use money from the reserves to still fully fund that program. The idea would be, though, that we would keep that that $10 million, that we'd want to replenish that and bring it back to $10 million over the next, as soon as we could over the next few years. So we might cut back on other projects in order to replenish it and get it back to $10 million. So that's kind of the idea of the reserve. One other item, just logistics-wise, how we would approach this is that we would do an annual report to your board to give you an idea of what we did in the past year, what types of projects were funded, and it would also give your board an opportunity to provide input on future projects for the upcoming year. And that could be done at any time if there was a project that seemed like it met the criteria and that your board wanted to put forth. We can collect that at any time. And in fact, we don't expect that we're just going to have a list of projects that we know at the beginning of the year and we go off and do them. They may come up from time to time, and we'll have to look at them and see how they fit with the criteria and with our available funding. So that's kind of the approach to how we wanted to do this. To get into the logistics of how we went about this process, and I'll touch on some of the areas where we don't have consensus. We had the subcommittee or the committee meeting, and we had a draft at that time, got feedback. The idea was that we would put that together, as I mentioned, and incorporate it into the, I'm sorry, I told you that already, didn't I? You've got that part. Okay, so the feedback that we got, there are 3 comments, and they all focus. If you look at the programs, there's a spectrum, basically. On the one hand, you have an approach that would be, let's just fund the SOLRAP program, and then all the remaining money, let's let it essentially compete, let the projects compete, and the best project that best fits the prioritization, the criteria, let's fund those projects. That's one approach. The other approach on the other side of the spectrum would be to break out these categories, as we have done, so that it kind of guarantees the ability to do projects in different areas. And even further, I guess, along that spectrum, if you would look at the second bullet, the environmental stewardship programs, we've actually broken out some specific projects, and there are some minimum funding amounts in those areas. So that is kind of on the other side of the spectrum. And then more to the middle of that, I think was actually it's the third comment on your list of comments there, is to keep the main categories so that it allows some balancing of the use of the money, but then not to break into subcategories. So those were kind of the essence of the 3 comments, and of course the board members that provide those comments can definitely explain that better than I did. And at this point, unless there are questions, I'd like to open it up for the discussion.
Good summary, Christoph. As you said, we were not able to come to a complete consensus on which way to proceed on this, so the wisdom of this board is required. And I think you framed it very well, so Mr. Cerner.
Thank you. So I participated on the committee, and I don't know if I would necessarily characterize this as not having consensus, because quite frankly, the last committee meeting we had, I thought there was, 95% agreement on kind of where we're going. I am responsible for the first comment that board members see there with the strike through or the additional language, I should say there. The only reason I submitted that is because I had some confusion over the language that is in our description of the draft policy here about the 40% as it relates to the various subcategories under environmental stewardship. So, Christoph, can you explain the logic, the thinking behind the minimum amount of funding versus the 40% or whichever is lower part of that?
Right. Well, so the thinking on the percentage, to use a percentage minimum that was in so the 40%. Mm-hmm. The idea being that in time periods when we collect significantly less revenue, it would reduce that minimum down, as opposed to having a dollar amount that stays constant regardless of the funding. So that was the
so it basically is a way to make sure that it stays a fair proportion of total revenue regardless of how it fluctuates, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, knowing that, and I didn't have the benefit of that explanation when I was first trying to understand what you had come back to us at following that last committee meeting, I'm fine with the way the language is in the draft policy under environmental stewardship. The only reason I submitted this other alternative language is because of not understanding that fully.
So, Mr. Cerner, you're saying the draft is all right?
Yeah, it is.
With the dollar amounts and the percentages?
Correct, as written.
As written, okay.
They strike the blue part, right, Phil?
Right, correct.
The blue part that's on the handout.
Well, and you'd have to add back the language.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, so I also participated on the committee, and I think that the language that's presented in the staff report here is very reflective of a lot of conversation, and I think that it really came to a pretty good conclusion, and I definitely support what you came up with.
Ms. Frost.
I was responsible for comment number 3, and I think I was also on the committee but was not in attendance that day for personal family reasons, and I'm sorry I wasn't. The comment that I made, I think, emanates from my thoughts around sensitivity for the ratepayers, and I think it would be, wearing my regional SAN hat, that it would be in the best interest in writing this policy to leave flexibility so that with changing markets and changing issues and needs and emerging technologies, and as things are shifting from year to year, regional SAN can have the capacity to be able to reevaluate on an annual basis how that money will be spent. And I think the 3 bullet points or buckets have merit, and I have no problem with them in particular. It's more how we write the policy and how we leave the flexibility for the regional sanitation district to prioritize those funds on an annual basis. And so those were my thoughts.
Well, since we're doing a confessional here, I'm responsible for number 2. And my thinking is this, that one, first of all, I see no reason to put a cap on income assistance. We don't know what that's going to be. It's going to change from year to year, and My personal value is that it be fully funded every year. So I would definitely do away with that cap. By forcing a dollar amount or percentages on the other in the other buckets, beneficial projects with more benefit and less risk could be bypassed just to achieve the balance in the bucket. I think we should support all the programs, but I don't think we should allocate a percentage or a dollar amount to any. I think we should evaluate them as they arise. I think this approach will give the district engineer the maximum flexibility to evaluate projects and programs as they come along and fund them as needed. There is some problem with doing this in a quantitative way, though, but I have full confidence that the staff can come up with a justification, a rationale, and a defense that would satisfy the board when evaluating the selection of their processes. So essentially what I'm saying is eliminate the buckets, eliminate the dollar amounts for all of the buckets, and to evaluate the projects as they come along on the criteria that's enumerated in the policy. Mr. Hume.
Thank you, Chair. Prabhakar, I apologize I didn't make the last subcommittee meeting, but I did make the first one. Refresh my memory, the SOLRAP program right now, there's about a $2 million need
That's
for
correct.
that? And that's the capacity, everybody that wants it gets it?
Yeah, so there's still some potential changes to it. One of the things that Director Carr was contemplating is today our program only funds for the owners of the properties that are actually paying the bill. So if somebody is living in an apartment complex and it's a low-income apartment complex, the residents won't get any checks from us. It's because the owner who's renting these places to them is not qualified, he's not meeting the minimum income limits, they're not getting it. So.
But typically, the owner would be the one paying the bill, correct?
That's right.
The renter wouldn't be paying the bill.
It's included in the rent. So,
Yeah.
assuming that's a pass-through, and the owner is not getting that, and which we're looking at perhaps changing it. If the owner can itemize in terms of this is what's for sewer charges, we could potentially go in and give them some credits. We do that for example, the mobile home parks, where there's residents it's in their rental statement, it says so much is for the sewer. And then we can credit against that as long as they met the income criteria. So we're contemplating on changing some things to potentially expand, but we have essentially reached a peak in terms of peak used to be 16,000 folks on the list that needed help when the Great Recession hit. They're down to about 14,000 homes 14,000 folks that receive that assistance today. So there could be an additional increase if we look at targeting in terms of the low income folks.
And that credit would pass through to the tenant, correct?
That's correct. Again, it all depends on if they can put it in the bill, then we have the ability to say, okay, yeah, you get the check.
And so do you have any idea off the top of your head what the impact of that policy change would be?
I don't.
Financially?
I don't.
Do you think it would be beyond this 50% increase that we've provided for by allocating $3 million?
It would be a gradual. This would take some time for us to do the research and also target them and try to get their logistics ironed out so we can actually do this. So we will know. We will have enough time, and that's also the reason why we have the reserve, if there are shortfalls, to handle from that, and then come back and adjust the policy when it's necessary. So it'll give us some time. It's not an overnight thing.
Okay, and then with respect to the environmental stewardship programs, as I recall, the American River Parkway habitat and cleanup was because what happens upstream of our plant, if it increases the califera or other nitrites or whatever in the stream, then we have to put even cleaner effluent into the river than what we would be if we didn't solve that problem. Is that?
So it's a twofold. The one is regional sand's main purpose in existence is environmental stewardship, and when we handle the sewage and we want to keep our environment clean. So the rivers is what we use to dispose of our wastewater. And it's considered essentially a public doctrine because, we have to do the things that's appropriate to make sure that our share, we're minimizing our impact. Now, if somebody has higher impact, because these are what's considered a non-point source, because you can't pick somebody and say, you can't permit them, hey, don't use that. So it disproportionately falls on the shoulders of the point sources like ours. So it is in the interest of the regional SAN in the long term to make sure that rivers are kept clean so that we have the ability to continue to do and manage our needs. So that's sort of a secondary level connection that's there. And we're trying to accomplish that through these programs to keep the rivers clean to the extent, for example, funding the boat cleanup. And you may have seen in the last year or two on the news that the boat kind of broke loose and homeless folks cut loose, and it's actually pretty filthy condition. It's moving down. So those are the kinds of things that we want to including the parkway cleanups where there's a human waste that's being dumped in certain parts of the river you really don't want to be in. If people know what happens there, they probably don't want to be in there. So to help clean up that.
Okay.
And other watershed type programs that may come about.
Sure. Again, improving general water quality so that the impact downstream from us is lessened. And then my final question, kind of to Ms. Frost and Mr. Carr's point, is would it be prudent and how burdensome if we had, say, an annual report back on the programs that were funded that we can then make adjustments as necessary?
That's what he said.
We plan to do an annual report back. Again, as the recipients, we would imagine there's going to be recipients receiving these funds. We would be expecting them to provide reports to us in terms of what difference this funding is making. And ultimately, your board want to direct the funding to the right places that makes the best impact on the goals that we laid out. So it is incumbent when we are looking at granting this money, it's incumbent upon recipients to use this money wisely, and also for us to be allocating this money where the best bang can be had for this bucks.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Bruins?
Yeah, thank you. I was also on the committee, and I'm very happy with the way the report came back, or the final conclusion of it. Just wanted to point out that we have stated the reporting requirements. They're already there for an annual report. And I imagine that if something unexpected came up, we'd get more than an annual report more frequently. Initially, I had some angst over the guaranteed minimum of $500,000 for the American River Parkway, although I value the asset that it is to our community. But the way this is stated, if we did have a shortfall, we aren't locked into a minimum on that or on the funding of the septic system conversions, which I think is very important as well on a long-term basis to get as many of our homeowners and even businesses, I imagine, could be on septic as well, out of that system, as I've seen in my own community some of the impacts it has had. So I think as I look at this, I think the flexibility is there. I believe it is imperative that our number one priority be the funding of the low-income folks that need that help. I remember when we changed that, it used to be seniors, and then we changed that to include all low-income people, which I think is appropriate. I think we have enough of a cushion at this point, since we're at about the $2 million mark, and the trend is trending down rather than up towards the families that need this assistance. I think a big change would be how we would incorporate renters and how we would monitor that and make sure that that's going to be a big change, I think. So I would be very supportive of moving this forward as stated.
Mr. Natoli?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just first compliment the committee and certainly our staff for the efforts to bring the matter to us today. And I think that I've heard discussion about flexibility and so forth. There's another piece of this too, that any budget allocation ultimately requires the approval of this board in some budget document, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
So we will fund this through the budget. When we bring the budgets to you, we will put a line item, say this is up to this amount.
Right.
And then individual projects come in, then we would have approved
Right,
that.
so annually, any report aside, we would have the ability to weigh in, this board, certainly in the details. And I do think the ability to revisit the policy in the event that we're seeing either greater utilization and or some ongoing shortfalls and or other projects that would be meritorious. I think this board, I know, reserves a right to revisit that on any occasion. This is, I think, a good beginning. I mean, again, building upon what we've done in the past. And for the certainly those that have limited incomes, but also I think to look at some of the environmental stewardship as well as other projects. And I would agree with Director Bruns too that certainly the septic tank conversion is very important. I think long term to water quality, but also that ultimately brings a customer base to this district as well for the services provided. So I think the outline provided here, I think there's enough flexibility, certainly still vested with the district manager as well as with the board of directors here. And I would be comfortable recognizing there wasn't 100% consensus around how it ought to be characterized, but I think the recommendation in the staff report that came from the bulk of the discussion is appropriate. And again, if it doesn't work for this district and the people that we serve and our customers and so forth, we can revisit this as soon as this time next year, if not before. So I would encourage us to move forward, I think, with the recommendation that's outlined here, recognizing there's some room for flexibility, and let's see how it goes.
Thanks, Mr. Moran.
Yeah, just not too much here. I would like to thank the work of the committee on this. In fact, I think it's so good that if there's need for committee work on future topics,
don't you dare, Andy.
Says the retiree. Just one point, just a question. So, as these needs are, I guess, submitted to staff. So it's staff's determination as you work through, say, a dollar amount. Let's just use the American River Parkway as an example. We work with the Bureau of Reclamation and state parks up on the Lake Natoma shores. Certainly those needs wouldn't be near as great as some other areas of the American River Parkway, but so are there opportunities like that to staff making those determinations as to where some of this funding goes, or does it get predetermined in a different way, or what's the exercise here?
Yeah, so I think at this point we have the $500,000, assuming that this is go through, that $500,000 allocated. So we will look at who are all the folks that provide the service in cleaning up. So we have the County of Sacramento Parks Department has a responsibility. And you got the foundation, American River Parkway Foundation, and you have brought another entity to the table. So we'll look at to see what are the things that they're doing, and then where the best bang can for the buck. And then, again, we would use a balanced approach too, again, so that the entire stretch can be helped, as opposed to totally, going to one place, all of it.
Thanks, appreciate
or
that.
Also multiple sources providing that service, as opposed to, because we want to get the best out of the money that we're providing.
Right.
Who provides it, we'll find out.
Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification. And again, I think this is a great start at trying to create a balance for this funding. So thanks.
Mr. Cerner.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So to Director Moran's point, which is certainly well taken, there's a lot of general kind of ownership of the asset that is the American River Parkway. My understanding is that upstream of Nimbus Dam, which would not be the purview of Sacramento County, would be the state of California,
yes,
principally. So my understanding, based on the conversation we had in committee, is that any entity, doesn't have to be a local entity, could be a state entity in that case, could apply for some of the funds to carry out the mission as stated here in the policy. Not to labor this too long, but one thing that Christoph didn't mention, but I think is worthy of explanation here, is the good conversation I think we had in committee about oversubscription, undersubscription, and how, there's been a lot of talk up here about how this reflects flexibility, but there's even more so in terms of, in any given year, an entity that comes in consistently with need or matching funds, some of the funding prioritization criteria that's mentioned here in the policy. there would be that flexibility so that you could have dedication of resources to a particular project, not just environmental stewardship, but others, if there was over-subscription for that, but under-subscription for other needs. And so I think that's something that is important for the full board to hear as well. And then lastly, again, going back to I guess it's page 3 of the policy, the fact that we have a deliberative statement here about leveraging other funding, I think is very important, that to understand ahead of time at least some general categories that are in the policy is important for entities to understand so that they can begin to plan for how their independent governing bodies might appropriate funding, knowing that there is an opportunity for match from this district. So I think that's another important point to stress here.
Mr. Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I just want to thank the committee for the work. This is a good starting point for the policy, and I think it makes a lot of sense. The only suggestion that I would make is that, given that we're starting with this policy, we don't really know 2-3 years from now exactly where it may end up. And as local government entities and as JPAs, we're very good at starting programs, but not so good at extracting out. And so I would caution us to be mindful of, as we fund projects, to not get too deep into a lot of hiring of staff that are going to require year-to-year funding. I mean, I think that's just one example, but I think we just need to be mindful of how committed we get to projects that are going to require funding year after year after year, because getting out of those is going to be almost impossible for us as we see the benefit of it. And that's just the nature of the business. When there's money, folks apply, we fund the right programs, and then things aren't as good and there's not as much money, and then we find ourselves having to try to figure out how to backfill that or get out of it, and we're not very good at that. So I would caution us as a policy matter to be thoughtful about what we fund and not get too deep into the weeds about funding positions that are going to require annual funding, because that's not. I don't think that's the role that we should be playing at this juncture with this new policy going forward. Because it's the ratepayer funds, and we ought to be very mindful of how we spend them. So. Just a thought.
Thank you. Very good discussion. Do we have anyone here to speak on this topic? No?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second for the staff recommendation. I will not be voting for the staff recommendation because I feel very strongly that we should not put a cap on how much we fund our low-income citizens. I think all of the other utilities in Sacramento County, I know SMUD, PG&E, the water districts, all fund our low-income customers, citizens, at a substantial discount. And I don't want to be on the side of the vote that says we're going to cap how much we're going to support our low-income residents. So I'm going to let's call for a vote, and would you call director by director?
Yes.
Can I ask a question before the vote is taken? This is for the council. So this is presented as a feedback from the board. So can the board approve, give the direction to approve this so that we don't need to come back again?
But we have a motion on the floor.
That's what before
There's
we.
a point of clarification.
But I'm just asking for clarification from the council.
Yes, I think that's possible.
Okay. Thank you.
You clarified.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashby.
No.
Bruins.
Yes.
Frost.
I have a question. Is it possible to ask?
It's the staff recommendation that we're voting on with the buckets and the caps.
Let's call the question.
I call the question. Is it possible for me to ask a question prior to voting?
We will certainly allow it.
Thank you, sir. My understanding is that there was then, based on this discussion, flexibility written into this policy on an annual basis. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you look on page 3, so it'll say Regional SAN will periodically review the funding used in each of the program categories. If allocated funding is not being used in a program category, funding may be distributed to other categories based on the needs in those categories. So there's a flexibility.
Annual flexibility.
That's right.
Okay. then my vote is yes.
Yerda. Harris.
Aye.
Hume.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Morin.
Yes.
Natoli.
Aye.
Orozco. Peters.
Yes.
Cerna.
Aye.
McGarvey.
Here, yes.
Villegas. Warren. Carr.
No.
Okay, motion passes with Ashby and Carr voting no.
You were right, Mr. Senator, there was a near consensus. Okay, we're going to adjourn to closed session at this point.
There's one consent
One other
matter, item 11, and so if we could, Madam Clerk, can call item 11 and
Acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District, item number 11 is your district consent matter.
Move the item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions?
And for item 12, just to let you know that we won't have the board meeting on August 9th. The next one would be August 23rd.
Oh,
So we
shucks.
will be skipping. So now we can go into closed session.
Okay. You ready to?
We'll come back into session, do the other.
Yeah, so the plan is for the closed session for both the Regional San and SASD. We'll take the Regional San item first, and the Regional San members can leave after it's done, and the SASD will continue and come back here to close the SASD item.
Okay, we call this meeting of SASD back to order. General Counsel, do we have anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Would you call the next item?
Yes. Acting as Sacramento Area Sewer District, item 13 through 15 are your district consent matters.
I'll move consent.
Second.
Item's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstention? The motion carries unanimously.
Perfect. And your last item, again, acting as Sacramento Area Sewer District, item number 16, collection of delinquent sewer service charges on the property tax roll.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Board members, my name is Joe Mastredi. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the district. I'd just like to briefly direct your attention to the attachment in your board packet. As you can see, it looks pretty much like it has for the last few years. At this point in the process, we have approximately 14,800 accounts that are still delinquent. That's about 1,000 account improvement since about a month ago, which is pretty typical. We're just about at the point now where the Cubs staff will turn the disc over to the clerk, and then they would be put on the delinquent tax roll if you approve this resolution. Any questions or comments?
Any questions from? No, seeing none. Thank you.
Move the item.
Thank you.
I believe we need to open the hearing and then close it. And then
Public hearing, I guess.
Have a motion to close the public hearing and move the item. Is there a second? Did you say?
Yes, second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions? So anyone here from the public here to speak about any item? Seeing none, do you have any additional items, Mr.
Nope,
Prebuck?
we're adjourned.
Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.